In this video, we're going to be tying a fly called the cockroach. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 4 feathers, 2 sets that splay away from each other. And I do that by plucking the feathers from each side of my cape, opposite sides. That way you get matching feathers that will splay away from each other. So I strip off all the fluff at the base of those feathers. Then I'm just going to match them up as best as I can. I'm going to take them and tie them in on each side of the hook so that the feather splays away from the hook. So you can see there it's splaying away. And then I do the same thing on the other side. I want to make sure that the feathers are each exactly the same size, so I just kind of roughly measure them out and tie them in so that they match. And I'm not going to take my thread all the way forward. I'm going to leave just a little bit of room. Now we're ready for the collar. And this fly is super simple. We're going to trim a nice generous clump of bucktail from the patch. I'm going to make sure I remove all the short fibers here. Just pluck them all out of there. And what I'm going to do is just roughly align the tips. I'm just going to grab the longest portion, pull out some shorter fibers, and then I'm just going to quickly align them. You can use a stacker for this. Bucktail a lot of times doesn't really stack too well in a hair stacker, so that's one of the reasons I do it like this, just real quick. It doesn't have to be perfect on this fly. And once you've got them pretty good aligned, we're going to tie in a little collar. All I'm going to do is just measure it out. I want it to reach back just barely past the bend of the hook. And I trim off all the back ends once I've got it measured. And then I'm going to take the bucktail and I'm going to roll it around the entire shank of the hook. Do a couple loose wraps to capture it, and I can bite down. That helps give you some coverage on the shank of the hook. Now bucktail is pretty bulky stuff. It likes to build up. I didn't quite get enough on there. I'm going to take another little piece here and I'm going to add it to the bottom of the hook here. Now we need to finish off the head. We do this just by kind of tapering the bucktail into a conical head. This bucktail really builds up fast. So that's one of the reasons I kind of try to manage it by trimming a lot of it out of there. There we go. Once you have a finished head, you can whip finish. Then we can add some eyes. Traditionally this fly has had some eyes on it. They used to be painted on there because they didn't have our fancy eyes like we do now. I'm not going to paint. That's a little bit messier than the way we can do it now. I'm just going to take a little super glue, add it to the side of the fly there, and I'm going to add my living eyes. The super glue just kind of temporarily holds it there for me. I want to make sure the eyes are nice and even on the top and the bottom of the fly, that they line up. Then once I have the flies added, we can take our fly finish. You can also use epoxy. And my first batch of fly finish here, what I do is I cover up all the thread and the gaps on the head. I don't go over the eyes yet. I'm just covering up the gap and my thread wraps. And once I've done that, give it a quick shot with my UV light. Now I can coat the head a little bit more and overlap on those eyes just a little bit. Gotta be careful not to overdo it with the glue. You can really get it carried away pretty quick with this stuff and add way too much. So I just try to coat everything with as thin of a layer as I can basically get away with. I don't like to add more than I need. And once you've cured your eyes, you're all finished. Now this fly, since we did use so much glue, you do want to use it or leave it outside in the bright sunlight to completely cure and bake. When you use this much UV glue, you get kind of a little tackiness, a little bit of, it almost feels kind of greasy. So you definitely want to make sure that you cure it completely out in the bright sun. The other thing you can do is use a little bit of alcohol and use a little cotton swab or something and swab the finish, and that'll help remove some of that tack. I usually just stick them in foam and bake them out in the sun. But very easy fly to tie. You can see there the splayed tail. So as you strip this fly, those tails will pulse, and that is thought to be one of the triggers to get the tarpon to eat. But very easy tarpon fly to tie. It's been around for a long time. It's caught a lot of tarpon, and you can find all the materials to tie this fly on our website, intheriffle.com. If you're watching this via YouTube, there is a link below the video in the descriptions panel. You can click on that link and follow it to the recipe information as well as the materials to tie the fly. That is the cockroach.